Hitler's bunker, the story of its final days and erasure. Berlin, April 1945. Above ground, the city burns in flames. Below it, deep within the concrete maze of the Führerbunker, the Third Reich gasps its final breaths. After the war ends, one haunting question lingers. What becomes of the place where Adolf Hitler spent his last days? The answer? It's stranger, darker, and more deliberate than you might expect. A story of demolition, denial, and calculated erasure. How Hitler's bunker was built. The story of Hitler's bunker doesn't begin in 1945. It starts nearly a decade earlier. In 1936, as Berlin prepared to host the Olympic Games and showcase Nazi power to the world, engineers from the Reich Chancellery began constructing an underground air raid shelter. Buried beneath the Chancellery Garden on Wilhelmstrasse, it was modest in size, built primarily as protection from aerial attacks. But by 1943, everything had changed. Allied bombings intensified, turning German cities into infernos. The bunker was expanded and heavily reinforced. The new lower complex, the Führerbunker, was completed in early 1944. It consisted of roughly 30 rooms, all connected by narrow, suffocating corridors and protected by nearly 4 meters of reinforced concrete. 2 stairways linked it to the upper Führerbunker and the Chancellery above, a descent into what would become Hitler's tomb. By the start of 1945, Hitler's empire was collapsing like a house of cards. On January 16, 1945, he, in his inner circle, including Martin Bormann, Joseph Goebbels, and secretaries Traudl Junge and Gerda Christian, retreated into the bunker for good. The upper Führerbunker served as living quarters for staff and guards, while the lower level became the beating heart of Hitler's final command post. It held a conference room, telephone exchange, map room, and his personal study. The air was heavy and stale, the corridors narrow and claustrophobic. Reports from those trapped inside described flickering lights, poor ventilation, and constant dampness from groundwater seepage. Life inside the bunker grew increasingly desperate with each passing day. Hitler spent long hours hunched over maps, issuing frantic orders to armies that no longer existed. Outside, Soviet artillery closed him like a vice. By April 20th, his 56th birthday, shells were already falling on the Chancellery Garden above. Eva Braun joined him underground permanently soon after. Witnesses recall an eerie blend of routine and despair. Daily military briefings, hurried meals, and the occasional playing of gramophone music, a surreal soundtrack to the apocalypse. On April 29, 1945, as Soviet troops advanced within blocks of the Reich Chancellery, Hitler married Eva Braun in a brief civil ceremony held in the bunker's small conference room. That same night, he dictated his political testament, blaming Germany's defeat on his generals and declaring his undying loyalty to the cause that had destroyed Europe. The following day, April 30th, 1945, he took his own life in his private study alongside Braun. Their bodies were carried up to the garden and burned by staff under Bormann's orders, as Soviet shells thundered nearby like drumbeats of doom. In the days that followed, Goebbels and his family also died within the bunker complex. On May 2nd, 1945, the remaining occupants attempted to flee or surrendered to Soviet forces. When the Red Army finally reached the ruins of the Chancellery, they found only charred remains, fragments of documents, and the wreckage of what had been the nerve center of Nazi Germany. The Soviets quickly secured the site and began investigations to confirm Hitler's death. For years afterward, they kept their findings secret, deliberately fueling rumors that Hitler had somehow escaped. What the Soviets did to the bunker. When the guns finally fell silent in May 1945, Berlin was a wasteland, a shattered ghost of its former self. The Reich Chancellery lay in ruins, its grand marble halls reduced to piles of rubble and dust. Beneath it, however, the Führerbunker still stood, damaged, yes, but structurally intact. Soviet troops discovered the entrance while clearing debris and immediately sealed off the area. To them, the site was both evidence and embarrassment, the last refuge of a defeated dictator. What followed was a fascinating mix of secrecy, destruction, and political control. In May and June 1945, Soviet forensic teams, led by SMERSH, military counterintelligence, entered the bunker to recover remains and documents. They photographed rooms, mapped the layout, and gathered fragments of burned papers. The discovery of dental remains believed to be Hitler's confirmed to them that he had indeed died there, though Stalin publicly denied it. For the Soviets, ambiguity served propaganda perfectly. It kept the myth of Hitler's escape alive while simultaneously highlighting Western intelligence failures. The complex itself posed a different challenge entirely. Berlin, now divided into occupation zones, was being rebuilt from the ashes. The Soviets decided the chancellery should be erased completely. Between 1945 and 1949, demolition crews systematically destroyed the above-ground buildings, first by hand, later with explosives. Their goal wasn't only practical, clearing ruins for reconstruction, but deeply symbolic, the physical annihilation of Nazi power's epicenter. In December 1947, Soviet engineers attempted to blow up the underground bunker network. The explosion tore open parts of the upper levels, but failed to destroy the reinforced lower chambers. Testament to their brutal construction. Some corridors flooded, others were filled with rubble. After several more attempts, the Soviets gave up in frustration. The site was buried under debris and forgotten, though rumors persisted of secret tunnels stretching beneath Berlin like veins. By the early 1950s, the East German government inherited the area within its sector, keen to suppress anything that could become a shrine for Nazi sympathizers. It imposed strict silence. No public signs marked the location. Official maps simply omitted it entirely. Nearby streets were renamed, and the ruins of the Chancellery Garden were flattened and turned into a nondescript stretch of wasteland. Even mentioning the bunker was discouraged. It was to vanish from memory as well as from sight. Yet the bunker's ghost lingered. Allied investigators and journalists tried to access it, often relying on second-hand Soviet reports. Early post-war publications, like Hugh Trevor Roper's The Last Days of Hitler, 1947, drew heavily on these limited accounts, cementing the image of a subterranean tomb buried beneath the ruins of Berlin. By the late 1950s, the site had vanished from view entirely. The ruins of the Reich Chancellery were cleared, the bunker entrances sealed with concrete, and East Berlin rebuilt over the area. Housing blocks and streets replaced the shattered government quarter, leaving the bunker buried and out of sight as the city determinately moved on. The bunker under East Germany. In the 1960s, as Berlin became the epicenter of Cold War tension, a city divided by ideology and concrete, the Führerbunker remained hidden beneath the new East German capital. Officially, it no longer existed. In reality, sections of it still lay under layers of concrete and rubble, quietly preserved by the very soil that was meant to erase it forever. Few East Germans knew its exact location, and those who did, mainly city planners and construction crews, were under strict instruction not to speak of it. Silence was policy. The area above the bunker, once the garden of the Reich Chancellery, fell within East Berlin's government quarter. When the Berlin Wall was built in 1961, it ran only a few hundred meters away, further isolating the site from public access. For the East German regime, the last thing they wanted was a monument to Hitler's final days within their socialist showcase city. The strategy was brutally simple: bury it, build over it, and forget it. During the 1960s and 70s, construction workers occasionally stumbled upon reinforced walls or sections of the old bunker network. Each time, authorities quickly sealed the openings. No questions asked, no documentation kept. One major discovery occurred in 1973 during the building of apartment blocks along Vossstrasse. Engineers accidentally broke through part of the lower Führerbunker chambers. Rather than excavate or document it, the East German Ministry of State Security, Stasi, ordered the remaining rooms filled with sand and cement, entombed forever. Western historians, operating from divided Berlin, could only speculate and theorize. Rumors spread through both Germany's and abroad. Some claimed the Soviets had preserved parts of the bunker for secret study. Others insisted the entire structure had been obliterated completely. Throughout the Cold War, East German propaganda avoided mentioning Hitler's last days or the bunker. School textbooks skipped over it entirely. The regime's focus was squarely on anti-fascism and socialist progress, not on the ruins of dictatorship lying beneath their feet. But in the West, fascination persisted and grew. Western journalists and tourists visiting Berlin often asked where Hitler's bunker had stood, only to be met with shrugs, blank stares, or deliberately evasive answers. In the late 1980s, as East Germany approached collapse and cracks appeared in the communist facade, its capital began another wave of reconstruction. City plans were modernized, and some older districts were mapped more precisely than ever before. It was then that historians realized something startling: how much of the bunker had actually survived under the surface. Though heavily damaged and flooded, the reinforced concrete shell still existed, a ghost beneath the city. Hitler's bunker today. When the Berlin Wall came down in 1989, a buried past resurfaced with dramatic force. As East and West Berlin merged into one city again, construction boomed across the reunified capital. Bulldozers and survey teams revisited long-ignored plots, including the former Reich Chancellery Garden. In 1990, engineers unexpectedly uncovered sections of the Führerbunker's reinforced walls and stairwells. They found flooded corridors, twisted metal doors, and fragments of wartime fittings. For historians, it was a rare physical link to one of history's most infamous sites. For the new German government, however, it posed a profound moral dilemma: how to deal with the last remnant of Hitler's final refuge. The early 1990s were marked by intense debate and soul-searching. Some argued that the bunker should be excavated and documented before redevelopment erased it completely, preserved as historical evidence. Others warned passionately that opening it risked turning the site into a neo-Nazi pilgrimage ground, a dark shrine. Berlin city planners chose the latter path decisively. No monument, no museum, no memorial. The ruins were quietly sealed again in 1992 as new apartment buildings and car parks rose above them. The only trace left visible was an unmarked patch of gravel between modern buildings, anonymous and unremarkable. Still, curiosity persisted and intensified. Historians pieced together the site's layout using wartime blueprints and Soviet photographs. Journalists and documentary filmmakers tracked its shifting legacy through decades. In the late 1990s, the exact coordinates of the bunker became public knowledge, sparking a wave of dark tourism. In 2006, ahead of the FIFA World Cup, Berlin installed a small information panel at the edge of the site. The display offered a factual, minimal explanation of the bunker's history, along with diagrams showing its position under the surrounding buildings. It was the first official acknowledgement of the site, carefully designed to inform without glorifying. Historians still debate how much of the lower levels actually survive. Estimates suggest around 15 to 20% of the original concrete shell remains buried beneath modern Berlin. In 2016, the Berlin Story Museum opened a reconstruction of parts of the Führerbunker inside a former air raid shelter a short distance away. The exhibit features replica rooms, including Hitler's working quarters, as well as models, documents, and eyewitness accounts explaining the bunker's design and daily use in 1945. It is not the authentic bunker, but it provides a controlled, factual way for visitors to understand how the complex once looked and functioned. Today, the bunker survives only as a hidden footprint beneath modern Berlin, sealed, silent, and stripped of symbolism. What was once the regime's final refuge has become part of the everyday city above it. A parking lot, apartments, ordinary streets. It's a powerful reminder that history's darkest places can fade from view, while their lessons endure forever. Like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell for more WWII Documenta. Thanks for watching.